Salute! This is a recap of the Cambridge Latin Course up to this point. In Book 1, stages 1 through 12, we had Caecilius and his family, and we saw what happened to them as we got to stage 12 and learned all about the archaeological site of Pompeii. What a great book. Next, we traveled all the way to Britain and Egypt, while Quintus told the longest story possible about everything he had done in between Pompeii and Britain. At the end of this story, we find out that Caecilius' business associate, Barbilus, has been hit by a spear while crocodile hunting on the Nile. Yep, back to there. Just to refresh your memory, at the end, there is some drama between a doctor and an astrologer. There's a cut-up mouse, if you remember. There is some emergency surgery, some spider webs that actually do contain vitamin K and can help with blood clotting in a pinch. Not that the ancient Egyptians or ancient Romans necessarily knew that, but they did know that it was helpful. Beyond that, after the tragic end of Book 2, we have Book 3, where we're going to start our new material this year. So when we see on this lovely cover of Book 3, we have an image of Minerva, the goddess of wisdom, and she is going to be combined with one of the Celtic goddesses named Sulis. So they may refer to her as Sulis Minerva, but just know it's kind of a mishmash together, a cultural fusion of two deities. So when we begin stage 21, which is the first stage of this book, we find out that we are in the town of Aquae Sulis. So Aquae Sulis, you will see in various forms. Aquae Sulis is one unit, and it's the name of a town, or oppidum, which is one of your vocab words. In the model sentences, if you, I have some activities that you can follow along with to make sure you got all the details of that. Look out for perfect passive participles. Anyway, back onto the cultural aspects. I will make individual videos about the stories. On page 9, we go in depth with perfect passive participles. If you haven't watched my rant about perfect passive participles, make sure you do. On to the culture. We have Aquae Sulis and its baths. So if you travel to England, there is a town called Bath, which happens to be the site of a Roman bath. And the waters there, you'll find in the reading, were very mineral rich, and were thought to cure diseases, and it was like holy water to them, basically. This spring was also thought to be sacred by the native people who were there before the Romans colonized and invaded. If you remember way back to stage 9 of Book 1, you learned about the different types of rooms in a Roman bath. So they have the cold room, or frigidarium, the tepidarium, warm room, the caldarium, the hot tub, along with things like the changing room. So you will see those in your stories. Another interesting thing is the haruspex. So one of the characters we meet will be a haruspex. I'm gonna pause and let that soak in. Haruspex. Ooh. Yeah, so the haruspex is a sort of soothsayer or fortune teller, future telling magical person who specializes in reading the entrails of an animal, specifically the liver. So when you sacrifice an animal, the haruspex would have someone take out the entrails, take out the liver, and then they, with their special tools and special knowledge and magic, would say, ooh, that liver is looking like maybe you're going to have a horrible day today. So the haruspex was a very respected position because they can tell your future, and then also that can affect what people do if they really buy into the idea that the haruspex or the soothsayer knows things or knows about the future. Then the haruspex can kind of call the shots in someone's life. So Cogadubnus heads on over to Aquae Sulis from where he is out in the outskirts of Britain, Britannia. So Cogadubnus heads on over to Aquae Sulis, hoping for a cure. If you read along pages 14 through 16 of the 5th edition of the 3rd book of Cambridge Latin Course, Oh, and also the images on pages 18 and 19 can give you more context as well. I really like the image on page 19 especially because you see the items that have been thrown into the baths, almost like if you were to drain a coin fountain and see all of the different coins that people have left in there. So a lot of really cool artifacts. If you ever visit England, I encourage you to go to Bath. I have never been personally, but I would love to. You can actually try the water, like try a sip of the water. Apparently it doesn't taste very good, but they've identified a lot of the minerals that are in there. If you look through the reading, you will also find out what the mineral content is and whether or not the spring had magical powers. So the checklist of vocab is on page 20 of stage 21. So make sure that you learn all these words by heart. It will make your life a whole lot easier. And that is an introduction to stage 21. Wale.